Here I am with the second part of my journey into the rocker milieu. There are 9 people. My journey into the realm of criminal rocker structures begins. It was clear to me from the start that here, it's about criminal structures, maybe even talking about it. And in the comments, it's often like, are all motorcycle clubs bad? And so on. I don't do that at all. There are people in the big motorcycle clubs, whether it's Hells Angels, Bandidos, Gremium, and so on, who don't earn their money with crime. But there are also clubs that are full of crime. They finance themselves, people join for that reason. Of course, it has a lot to do with protecting their own businesses. If you belong to a large group, it's harder for others to attack you and so on. And for me too, the thought was there, okay, you could network more, you get new contacts, new opportunities to do business and so on. And often it is then the case that people say, yes, I that just wanted to ride a motorcycle and so on. I have really experienced that. It was always about the games of power, having the back and representing something, showing the symbols, look where I belong, being stared at. And people could be that honest under the videos. They could put hashtag Kenich underneath for those who watch it and then had similar motivations. Okay, we have definitely met with the sturgeon more often now. Yes, there was a good laugh under the last video. He definitely sought more and more contact with us. We were literally buttered up. Yes, we already noticed, okay, we should definitely be there. He also kept saying, if you participate, it's not about guarding motorcycles afterwards. It's not about handing out a few drinks. Yes, it's a way to get a look into the motorcycle scene and learn things, to start a kind of support club. It's not like the Red Devils, which was suggested that we should do. It's not like it's not a recognized club or something. They exist worldwide and have built up a certain reputation. That was all very attractive to us, at least the 4 of us from Wismar. For us, it was clear, okay, we're doing this. And then this meeting was arranged, and I had already had some contacts in Rostock, but it was not so intense that we could look into their structures. And then it was decided that we would meet there. Nazis, hooligans, bouncers, petty criminals, drug dealers, a wild mix of people. Okay, we got a message on the phone saying we're meeting at 2 o'clock here and there, and then you come by Saturday afternoon, and of course we were as eager as can be. Yeah, let's go, let's go. When does it finally start? When do we have the robes, the badges, and when do we meet worldwide and with the motorcycles, hair in the wind, and off we go? The whole machine shouldn't start up that quickly. In any case, we started off to the meeting. I'd say you really dress accordingly. You know you're going to meet all sorts of people. Strapped on the fanny pack, everyone. Then, dressed as if you're going to a concert, of course, the main color that was already represented there was already black, and then we drove towards Rostock. And then we decided, okay, watch out, we'll take a look at this. We let them tell us and we'll see who else is there. Actually, we were sure that we would participate anyway, but we wanted to see who was suggested there. We then also set off with a kind of picture in our head thinking, okay, let's see who's there. So they come, when you get such advertising, they say they come from the table of the milieu and drug trafficking and so on. Very different people that we thought, okay, this is going to be intense. Then we arrived in Rostock, and then there was a meeting point, then it continued. To a meeting point, it was not immediately known where we were going, and then we stopped somewhere in Rostock at some hotel, got rid of the cars, went down a park, and then walked through a forest where we thought, okay, already a nice start. Walking is not my biggest hobby, and then we went. Went through the forest, nice with the new sneakers, right through the mud, through, and the journey begins. We asked where we were going. The meeting was over there. We looked at the people in between and checked them out. Then you scan and say, okay, who else is here? And then yes, hello. And then first of all, everyone hugs. Yes, you don't know each other, but you were lured there by the same acquaintances or friends. And then everyone first, yes, and everyone stands like that, and then smoke Ziggy, and then we marched through the forest, and then we arrived. Like one, then we arrived at a youth house, and that was yes. For me then first the big surprise, they then had some corners to a youth meeting place in the middle of the forest. Or in a city park of Rostock, yes, where the meeting point then was. And now one could imagine that this is somehow a bit structured, yes. We come in there and then there was let's say there was a box, that's water and a few colas. And then there were some who were bustling around the area. They had just got their robes. They were yes before what I had forgotten to mention. They were yes before Prospect Chapter at Gremium Rostock. And they then, so to speak, patched to the Hells Angels and then also went into the Prospect status. That means they only had the Rostock sign on the back with the MC sign and front patch and that. But you can all look up quite well at Wikipedia or somewhere else. Maybe there is a special part that we do to it, but you can all look up quite well. In any case, there was the head was not yet. And of course, the name to put over it was not yet. They had to, so to speak, prove themselves for a year everywhere. Introduce that then runs like this. They had to drive through Germany and introduce themselves at every German charter, no matter whether one or two people drive there. And that would, of course, if you would think, yes, are they all driven off with the motorcycle? No. But you had to introduce yourself everywhere personally. They had, so to speak, godparents, and their godparents were those from Berlin, who then, so to speak, initiated them into the world of the Heads Angels back then. Many who organized that back then, let's say, they are all no longer there today. So he doesn't need to go big on. Most of them were then also sorted out by the club afterwards. And you will also quickly find out why that then happened. But we will get to that, dear people. So we were then at this meeting inside, and then I already thought. And they, of course, had their new robes so presented there, everything so new on the recordings were also no dirt on it. There was not yet a fly that clapped against while motorcycling that then somehow the robe somehow soaked. That was all still new, as if taken from the store. You could already see that some were really walking around with their chests swollen with pride. But maybe that's understandable, otherwise it wouldn't make sense to participate there. The spokesperson and organizational leader, the disruptor, nonetheless. And I also noticed the tone he had towards the others. The truth was subterranean. He looked down on everyone in the city, considering them all to be. Everyone was soft, had nothing on them. You have to beat him up, and it doesn't just work. He knows how the rabbit runs. And that's how he dealt with everyone. He's immediately from 0 to 180. He had no intermediate level, no sense that when he takes someone else aside from the club and yells at them in front of everyone else, that the other person might not find it so good. Yes, and he always interpreted it that way, also walked around like that. But you could still like him. I don't want to bash the person. You could still like him because you stood with him and could then laugh and chat with him and so on. And then he was also in a good mood, but he just switched within a very short time to complete escalation if anything displeased him. And at that point, it was clear to me, okay, we don't know each other for long and we're not close friends. If he supports me and my Wismar boys but gossips about his club members behind their backs, I know we're also the subject when we're not around. Yes, it's a recurring theme, something I've learned in life. Yes, people started arriving one by one. And then it was quite a big fanny pack meeting. And I would have thought that the club introduces themselves, those who are now making this prospectus charter from the Hells Angels, that they introduce themselves and say, yes, we are the new ones who are doing this now. I think they went over with 8 or 9 men, and they were previously at Gremium almost 25 or 30 or so. I knew then they were out. Even back then, issues existed as most had imposed a contribution of around 70 euros or so. And most of them didn't even pay it. They owed 5 monthly contributions, didn't get the motorcycles or didn't pay for the vests, didn't pay for the patches. Very, very worldly things that hardly anyone ever tells you, that sometimes it's about people not even being able to pay for the patches. You have to buy them after all. Someone distributes them nationwide in Germany. There is a protection fee on it, and of course they cost 10, 15, 20 euros or so to produce. But they are then also sold within the club for 250, 500 or 1,000 euros. And you have to buy them. You have to buy the robe with at least 200 euros. But you get the last piece of beef, which has standard dimensions, where you then look like a barrel, because nothing is somehow cut to the body parts and so on. So with a good rope, you have to calculate 400, 500 euros, patches, club contribution, and so on. It costs money first. They then also had that problem in the committee. That's why, and the 81 also said, all these 20, 25 people, they can't all come over to us. We're definitely not doing that. We only take the best from this club, and the other one can then, the others can support. And if at some point someone offers themselves and you are a full starter, then you can decide for yourself who among them will be taken along and so on. That definitely caused some nice internal beef, yes, so to speak. When you sit together with 20 people and say yes, no, 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 yes, no, 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 yes, we three agree anyway because we are the coolest. Oh, there you can be friends. As you want, it won't be received so well. Yes, when you then, it says, hey, I thought we were always tight. We stand together, pump together at the door and spray. Us together. Testosterone in ass, and now I'm not allowed to participate. There were plenty of sensitivities, I have to say, that was immediately noticeable. And there was a gradient. The different people where I thought, okay, I thought we have to act hard accordingly now and to get this acceptance, to participate there. To be able to, and so on, I thought we are so in debt, and to say this, and this is us, this and this we do, and not to go under there. But I looked at it in a row and thought, even if the Camp David genes are here and somehow posture like an SD, there were already a few where I said they should participate there too, but okay, we will listen to it, and I very quickly connected with 23 from Rostock whom I didn't know at all. We were standing together, and how they find that is, I think, yes. So how do you come together? Where does it lie? Same sayings, same humor, posture, charisma, and so on. In any case, there were then 23 with whom I very quickly also connected, who were from Rostock and who should play a role for a long time in the different series that are still to come. And now it was so that there was then a kind of lecture then given by one of the members who was still a member at the time, who then told us, yes, we have now founded so-and-so and we do this, and now it is being cleaned up in the city. Now there is a completely different wind. Now we have Germany's support, and the others we don't care about. The committee is also irrelevant to us. And now it is being pushed through here. Everything is being taken over. We got a speech that really, now everything will change. And some people can intuitively give these speeches very well. They hit points of the people, which of course are supposed to make them want to participate and commit to it. We will clean up, we will all make money together, we will create structures, we will get nationwide contacts, and we will stick together, one for all for one, and so on. And when you hear that and you sit there in the round and everyone is sitting there with their little beer and cola, and then everyone, yeah, cool, that would be it. And you sit there with 30, 35 people, and the 8 or 9 are standing around a bit. And it was very strange. Some were not interested at all. Some didn't even say hello. And where I thought, well, okay. Looking back, you'd think if someone treated you that way, you'd run away. You wouldn't even join a bowling club where you just say hello to everyone. You don't have to give everyone a fin, but just say moin, 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 moin to the group. You can do that. But okay, maybe it also has something to do with being overly cool, with hyper-masculinity. Yeah, no, not everyone at first. I'm initially unapproachable. Which was even more pronounced in this milieu, this unapproachability, the body language, the speech, which I also adopted as in the milieus before. Definitely this, not a fiery speech, but a motivational speech. And yes, then there was always this thing where everyone should introduce themselves a bit, not yet as an individual, but they introduce themselves, yes, we come from this area, we stand at the door there and there with those and those, that's why we are here, yes, and I do a bit, I have a small car dealership here, that's why I do this, and that's how we know each other. And then we said like, yes, and we are the neo-Nazis from Weimar. Of course, partying hard. I'm always asked, is there racism in the clubs? Yes, racism exists in motorcycle clubs. I've experienced it intensely myself. This applies to not just this club, but all of them. It is still the case that black people cannot participate in many of the clubs. This comes from the rules in the United States of America. I know, there will be one or the other who will write something under it. But the rules there are just like that to my knowledge. But I'm also happy to be taught, preferably with a link then here below. Yes, a very, very colorful bunch. It was voted on very quickly. Do we want to proceed with this somehow? And because I had already had many, many years of club life behind me, I thought, okay, this is already wildly thrown together. But then it was immediately asked, yes, do we want to do this? I mean, I looked at my boys with whom we were there, all to the three, then all, yes, clear, so we'll be there. So there sounds good, just this mass, this feeling at the moment. Okay, we are 25, we are 30, we will rock this, we are together, we are one family, and so on. That is then, at the moment it works, and then you are full of euphoria. You also want that this works, not only I then believed in it and you do not approach it and is only skeptical. Skeptical, no, I was not what I am, a believer, and then really voted properly, and then it was, yes, also about, okay, then it already went to certain topics, then it was yes. So do you want to be a motorcycle club, or do you want to be something like a support street gang? Yes, for me that was now, so I personally had my motorcycle, the Intruder, and thought, yes, why? If then also motorcycle, then with Kuta and so on. And then there were a few who said, yes, never. So it's shirt gang, so street gang, like. And so, well, I said, so at the street gang, that is, yes. So is that for me like a descent? Yes, so I have no desire for that. I wanted to ride a motorcycle if already. And then there were, of course, the most different things that were then thrown in, yes. So if you make a motorcycle club, then you have to already have a motorcycle that was with some already times, okay. But always again, and then it is also thrown in, if the concerns, then so comes, yes, I can just pay my Ford Fiesta, hashtag no hate. And who then thinks, okay, now should I still put motorcycle and everything else around is already financially, but yes, we will also soon all together earn money so well. So if we first have the structures we have taken over, the doors, the red light taken over, and up to the shipyard taken over, then we will also all together earn money. I was already, due to my experience in multi-criminality, already a bit where I said, well, let's see, maybe a lot of money flows in at the top, but only trickles out at the bottom. That was already somehow clear to me. And we were also not dependent on that. We now necessarily with them that we were dependent on their money. Of course, one wanted to expand business, and that is also a thought behind it, but so dependent we were not. And then it was said, yes, earn money together, and then everything goes, and you have a year of transition time. But you could also do something like the Red Legion, or what do I know, Red Army Rostock, where I then thought, so was that is already quite a drastic change then from somehow, so who Wolf Wiesmann to Red Army Rostock, yes, or Red White Army Rostock or something. And then we thought, so yes, no, and then there was really always, again, then it was also explained to us what we have to achieve. Also, to become this support club, we would basically only be subject to the Rostock Angels. Yes, they would be responsible for us, but as long as that would be the case, we would get a kind of prospectus status, but would get the full color. So name at the top, patch in the middle, bottom, and all patches, but then somewhere prospectus would be written. That already caused a huge fuss nationwide that we as a prospect chapter already had everything on it. We were occasionally antagonized, not openly antagonized, but as a backstabbing gossip, because we were not there for that they told us that to our face. But that didn't go over well. So the decision was made relatively quickly that we would also found a motorcycle club under the leadership, so to speak, of the Rostockers. But we were told that we also had to keep a sort of logbook and visit the charter nationwide to introduce ourselves. And then I thought, how much is there up front? Back then, there were maybe 20 or 25 nationwide. We thought we'd do 2 or 3 tours of Germany. We are somehow, if we all participate now, then we are 14, 16, 18 people. Yes, those 3 go there and do 3 in one weekend. They do 4, they do 4. I thought that was doable. Yes, that it should end up with a few was not entirely clear to me. And besides, we were immediately told, and that's how the rules have often been interpreted. Yes, we can decide. And we would then do it in such a way that exactly after 1 year when your prospect charter was, that we would then elevate you to full status. That was not given on the first day so that people would participate, so they wouldn't cancel and say, yes, we don't do 2 years of prospect. And it was also not said, of course, they would have to do services occasionally, but not towards us. It was always said, no, I get my own cola and my beer. No one needs to do anything. Only occasionally when we naturally get visitors from outside. Then when we are out and about with the motorcycle, then one would also have to get there and to parties and so on, and then maybe help out a bit. Was said a bit nicer. What was left of it, we will of course get to that. Yes, we don't want to alienate anyone. Now we want mass. We noticed that on the day, and we then decided, yes, okay, we want as a motorcycle club, as a support club, we want to pull this thing off. I could remember from the meeting that I also met some of the Hessian stars for the first time, and the others who were there from the other 20 who were there. I maybe remembered 4 names. Yes, then you should now relatively, what does it mean? You should really call each other brothers soon. And that was a bit too fast for me, but completely euphoric, funny anecdote was, of course. Now everyone was given the advice that everyone should deal with it on the internet, where you can then find out about rockers from Wikipedia a bit now. But everyone should read the biker news, which has now been discontinued. In the last one, I was also included with an article. It was discontinued, but it was something like the information sheet within the rocker scene. They were just too slow, of course, because it only came out once a month. But there were club news in it. I have been reading about the founding and dissolution of various clubs for a long time. There was a lot of information, but now it has been confirmed. Everyone should deal with this, so they all know what a motorcycle club is all about. And it would also be nice if one or the other would deal with where a motorcycle comes from. Meeting disbanded. Meeting disbanded. Everyone completely euphoric in our car. 4 of us going home. We hadn't exchanged contact information yet. We'll do that later. Everything should be coordinated. Then he said, of course, the secretary of the Hells Angels would take care of that. And I believe that never happened. We then drove home, did that in Wismar, and then it was clear to us, okay, we will try to handle everything at our end first. To keep it internal among the 4 of us. Wasn't that simple that we had said it like that in Werewolf? We wanted to present it when everything is settled and done, not some half-baked stuff. We didn't feel like doing that. But for me, it was clear what I wanted at that time is I wanted to start looking for another motorcycle. I wanted a cooler motorcycle. With the Trudy, I didn't feel like it. And to tell that now, not only is it hard for me, but it's very hard to tell you that. So we have a bit of an increase. At that time, my mother was in the hospital for the first time. No one knew what she had. And I didn't visit her in the hospital very often. And no one knew what my mother had until some doctor found out that she is, so to speak, allergic to the sun. She can go in the sun briefly, but avoid direct sunlight. When she goes into the sun, water forms in her lungs. And of course, all the doctors always said, go out and get some fresh air and so on. And of course, the contact with my family, very, very modest, with very, very many accusations. I live my life, I don't care, and I am tough. And you did me so much wrong when I was a child and a teenager. And that's why I am still angry with you. Totally many sensitivities. And even when my mom is not feeling well. And what I did there is really a proper bastard move. But it's important to see that or to tell you. And my mother was then operated on and was admitted, had to go through another surgery, and was then in rehab, really narrowly escaped death by the skin of her teeth. And even the doctor said at that time that my mother maybe has half a year, 3/4 of a year to live. We are now in the year early 2008. I am almost 30, or not yet 30. I am not yet 30. And I then go to my mother in rehab. So my mother is still alive today. Yes, Mom. But the doctors back then gave a super bad prognosis. And then I said, yes, Mom, I would come to visit you in rehab. Is Dad also there? And then went to the rehab clinic to Bad Schwartau, around the corner where my mother was, and then visited her. And somehow I even still have one of the Thomann brought along what that was supposed to be. I don't understand either. My mother is there in rehab, and somehow met up in this canteen and had a tea and ate a piece of cake and so on. And then, of course, asked, how is your health? And I don't even know if I was seriously interested. It's also difficult to always say that because, you know, tens of thousands of people will watch it later and they will judge it. I only went with the intention because I wanted to hit up my parents for a new Harley Davidson. And I even pulled it off in the conversation and then hit up my parents. Also asked during this rehab visit if they could lend me money because I wanted to buy a new Harley Davidson, and used the visit to the rehab to borrow money from my parents, which I always paid back, to borrow money to join this motorcycle club. The tattoo artist wanted to buy my Trudy, and I announced big, I'm going to buy a Harley Davidson, and I think my parents were very shocked when I asked them, but my parents had other worries and said, then we'll lend you the money. I left with a mix of feelings I can't precisely recall today. Nonetheless, I accomplished my objective. Today, in retrospect, what I did there is terrible. Anyway, I can soon buy a new Harley Davidson. But first, there was still a new meeting in Rostock where some people from the club have grown very close to the heart. And then there was a very, very strange meeting with them, with someone from half of India from Berlin, where I thought I would fall over backwards. But guys, that's coming in the next part. Thanks for watching. Check out the book Hate Makes Violence. Visit the Extremist Free Association for more info. Ev King among the Kongs. You can find the clothes in the shop. We'll support private streamers to aid our online work. Link to console below, but you can use it as is. Thumbs up or down, feel free to comment. As always, from the coast.